Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to review The Fall Is All There Is by C.M. Caplan. All Peter Mercy wanted was a good old-fashioned dramatic exit from his life as a prince. Now, 5 years later, the king is dead and Peter must decide which of his siblings he must pledge his thyroid-powered sword to. As the youngest in a set of quadruplets, Peter is aware that the line of succession can be murky. If Peter has any chance of preventing civil war, he'll have to avoid one sibling who wants to hold him hostage, win back another's trust, and gain an audience with his sister who he has been avoiding for the last 5 years. Family reunions can be torture. So I read this as part of my initial batch of books for the self-published fantasy blog off Round 9. This world is just so incredibly weird. It is one of the most unique settings that I have come across in a lot of books. And I was hooked from the very opening line. I was 6 years old the first time Mum threatened to sew my mouth shut. And really, things only escalate from there. We follow Peter throughout this one, who, as I said in the synopsis, is the youngest in a set of quadruplets. At the start of this, it's almost as if he is talking to the reader, and as such we really get to spend a lot of time in his head, and I do feel like we get to know him really, really well. He has removed himself from the overwhelming drama that is his family, but at the start of this book he is, unfortunately, pulled back in. I just loved following him as he tried to figure out this dynamic that has changed and what has changed while he has been away from his family. And as such, his perspective can be a touch chaotic at times. And the other characters also make this. There's so much scheming and backstabbing from pretty much everybody we meet. The siblings and the relationships really are a focal point of the book, and it is clear that there is so much history and backstory to the relationships between the siblings that we are not privy to, so we do feel like an outsider at times, especially with Peter being away for so long that he's coming back into an established dynamic that is basically carried on without him. While it would be interesting to see this from the other side, to see how things have changed while Peter have been away, I really loved his perspective. There are a lot of other characters we meet through this, and honestly, the character work was great. Everyone felt really distinct. I loved meeting all the new people as we went through this. And overwhelmingly, everybody is just shit to everybody else, but they're also compelling to read about. And also there is a lot of politics going on in here, but it's not always clear. But I think part of that is because the lack of fucks given by Peter towards a lot of the situation. One thing that really stood out to me was the emotional quality of the writing. Peter's emotions sometimes felt like a blunt object, also at times like a sharp blade. It's visceral and almost claustrophobic how close we get to his emotions at times. The world building is as intense and chaotic as everything else we've encountered so far. There is a really steep learning curve in the first few chapters. There is a lot of information about this world to take in, but then I found that it really did slot into place, and it went so much easier once you got into the swing of it and were able to follow along. This world blends together science fiction and fantasy elements, but still comes down on the side of fantasy. This feels very much like a fantasy world with science fiction elements. There is technology powered by corpses, cyborg horses, and ghost fog that will literally infect you with ghosts if you breathe it in. But the way it is approached, it is an ancient magic, and actually ancient magic did end the world at one point. That was the first annihilation, and things only got weirder from then. It's a messed up world in every aspect, but it is just so well described that I became absorbed as it was built up around me. One aspect that I enjoyed and appreciated is that being hurt had consequences. Injuries weren't ignored until plot demanded otherwise, and injuries weren't shaken off in 5 minutes, and this went for physical and mental injuries. So, to close out my review, if you have read The Wolves of the Calla and just felt that it wasn't fucking weird enough, maybe give this one a try. It's chaotic and absorbing and utterly original in pretty much anything I can think of that I have read, traditional and self-published. So if you have read this one, I would love to know your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and I shall see you all soon.